Coverage you can count on. KOMU8 News Today starts now.
Good morning to you in Missouri. Believe it or not, last day of February.
Woo-hoo!
It's Tuesday, February 28th, 2023.
Not a leap year either, so you don't have 29th.
Nope. I'm Jordan Berger. Thanks for waking up with us.
And I'm Sarah Moyers. Your time is 4:30.
Yeah, I'm Tim Schmidt. Let's take a look at our weather this morning. It's a pretty quiet morning start. Quickly back into the 50s this morning.
All right, Tim, thank you. Governor Mike Parsons signed a bill yesterday marking the largest pay increase for state workers in Missouri history.
KOMU8's Jacob Siciliano joins us in the studio with the impacts of Missouri's newest law. Hey, Jacob, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hundreds of state workers gathered at Truman Office Building yesterday to watch Parsons sign a bill that will make a significant impact on their pay. The bill outlines an 8.7% cost of living pay increase for all state workers. It adds $2 per hour for overnight workers as well. Funding for school safety grants and mental health facility improvements are also included. The bill hopes to target a 30% turnover rate and shortage of 7,000 state workers.
We're going to be able to retain them, and I think this is a good start, and I think we're headed down that road, and I think you'll see that number get more and more about retaining state employees.
The law will add $151 million to the state's budget. State workers can expect to see that pump in their paycheck by the end of March. In studio, Jacob Siciliano, KOMU8 News.
All right, Jacob, thank you. The Missouri House of Representatives is moving forward with a bill to change regulations for industrial hemp. It has various uses, and most CBD products are made from hemp plants. This bill could help hemp producers across the state by reducing fees on their operations. If signed into law, the bill would repeal the industrial hemp regulatory program in Missouri.
We had language that almost mirrored exactly what the USDA had on the federal level, except that we had a $750 fee that we charged Missouri farmers that were going to be growing industrial hemp.
The bill has gained a lot of support, but no one has testified or even voted against it. The next step is for the bill to be heard on the House floor.
A water safety group in Columbia is calling for the transparency of the city following a city water quality violation. The city of Columbia admitted at the last council meeting that they got a violation for failure to test the city's water for copper and lead last year. In fact, the last reported test was back in 2019, more than 3 years ago. During that city council meeting, the Como Safe Water Coalition group confronted the council for not being included in the process. Julie Ryan is a co-founder of the group. She says she feels the city is not being honest about issues surrounding the violation.
Given the fact that we're spending millions of dollars on trying to upgrade this plant and the water treatment plant and addressing our infrastructure needs, I think it would behoove the city to be forthright and forthcoming in the types of problems that we're experiencing.
The directors of utilities had said they hope to have a report on how the city plans to work on the situation. That report was supposed to be released yesterday, but it wasn't. KOMU8 reached out to city officials, but they told us the city couldn't confirm when that report would be released. The City of Columbia Utilities Department will be resuming utility disconnections as the weather warms up. Customers with a past due balance will need to bring their accounts up to date to avoid being disconnected. During the winter months, the city postpones disconnections due to the cold weather. Customers in need of utility payment assistance should contact Utility Customer Services.
Happening this morning, the first flights will take off from Kansas City International Airport's new terminal. Officials gathered yesterday to celebrate its grand opening. Local leaders and federal officials cut a ribbon for that new terminal. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg called it a historic moment. Callaway County commissioners spoke with concerned residents yesterday about several proposed energy infrastructure projects. Callaway County does not have a planning and zoning division, and commissioners say that makes it difficult for the county to regulate private business enterprises. But recent solar panel safety concerns and eminent domain threats have motivated residents to call for preventative ordinances. A new Bloomfield resident says it's about accountability.
It's a possible public health risk, and that I feel like the companies that have come in just really haven't addressed that. We have to have something to stand on so that the county is not left footing the bill for the cleanup.
The Missouri Public Service Commission will hold 3 meetings next week to allow for public input on the Grain Belt Express transmission line. Columbia Public School students are getting a unique opportunity to learn about the science behind space.
NASA representatives were at Hickman High School yesterday to judge student projects and discuss working with space administration. The projects are part of a national design challenge to teach students how NASA makes its technology. Projects included rolling dice in space, turning waste into bricks, and building an LED work desk for space. Two representatives said they were impressed with how much the students can already do.
It gives them an understanding of what it is to design, build, and test a project, just like we do at NASA. As engineers, as scientists, we do research. We then, once we come with the research, we design and build. We have an objective we have to meet, and the students are following the same thing.
Very cool to see the excitement that the students have, the capability that they have even at the high school level. It's just really refreshing to see that type of science and technology work happening here in Hickman.
If the students are chosen as finalists, they'll present their designs at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
The weather is nice and quiet this morning. Temperatures will be down in the 30s to start out the day, and there could be some patchy frost to begin the morning. Coming up, we'll have the details on a nice mild forecast for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Coming up, find out why demonstrators have gathered at the Supreme Court steps overnight.
But first, you're taking a live look over downtown Columbia at 4:37. KOMU 8 News Today will be right back. Welcome back. The City of Columbia is bringing in materials needed to start installing steel panels in one of the openings of the 5th and Walnut garage downtown. Now, that garage is located just north of Broadway and is across the street from the Columbia Police Department. The city is installing the steel panels on levels 5 through 8. The new safety measures are in addition to the 10-foot fencing that was installed around the perimeter of the garage last year. The city estimates the steel barriers will take about a month to put in. The garage will still be open, but certain spots might be closed off.
Well, it's going to be a nice, quiet weather day. Sunshine on another nice, mild weekend.
All right, Tim, thank you. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen made a surprise visit to Kyiv yesterday. She met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to reaffirm Washington's financial support. Yellen says the U.S. has provided around $50 billion in security, economic, and humanitarian aid to Ukraine since the start of Russia's war. During the same visit, she also warned China against sending lethal aid to Russia. Now, that's actually a move some U.S. officials are predicting. While the director of the CIA says he is confident China will consider sending Russia additional artillery, not everyone is on the same page, with other top officials stressing it hasn't happened yet.
You know, I'm not going to get into a hypothetical here and speculate. We have not seen the Chinese make a decision to move in that direction. We have been very honest and candid, not only with all of you publicly, but with the Chinese privately.
Ukraine's president says he is willing to meet with his Chinese counterpart. Also new out of China, a U.S. classified report found it is possible the coronavirus originated from a laboratory leak in Wuhan. Now, two sources with direct knowledge of the report say the supposed leak was an accident. There are still many disagreements surrounding the report, though, with China denying it, having previously called the notion a conspiracy theory. Yesterday, Canada announced it blocked TikTok from government-issued devices.
Officials say the Chinese-owned app carries a, quote, unacceptable level of risk. The government also moved to block its employees from downloading the social media app in the future. In a statement, they expressed concern about data collection methods. You may remember us telling you about a similar bill that was voted out of committee here in Missouri that would ban TikTok on all state-owned phones. While that bill was approved in committee, it has yet to be brought to the House floor.
We're making the decision that for government employees, for government equipment, it is better to not have them access TikTok because of the concerns that people have in terms of safety.
We'll keep providing the latest updates to the Missouri bill on the issue, both on air and on KOMU.com. A White House guidance issued yesterday gives federal agencies 30 days to remove TikTok from all government-issued devices. This latest effort to clamp down on the social media app comes amid renewed concerns that U.S. user data could find its way to the Chinese government. U.S. officials are concerned the Chinese government could pressure TikTok's parent company ByteDance to hand over that information. Independent security experts say that kind of access is a possibility, but there have been no reported incidents of such access.
Demonstrators are camping out at the U.S. Supreme Court in support of student loan forgiveness. The court is set to hear arguments on President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan today. Nearly 100 student loan borrowers are holding an all-night session to talk about their debt. Some lawmakers are also present to show their support.
So not only should we cancel student debt, we should make community college and four-year college and vocational school and every post-secondary opportunity free.
Student loan repayments have been on hold for nearly 3 years since the pandemic began. Now, President Biden's new plan could cancel up to $20,000 of student loan debt for qualified borrowers. 2 cases are set to appear in front of the justices. Both cases argue that the government does not have the authority to cancel loan debt under the proposed program. It's unclear when the court is set to make its decision, but it is expected to come at the end of the current term. Dozens of Michigan students held a gun control rally yesterday. They demanded change after the deadly shooting earlier this month at Michigan State University. The students are calling on lawmakers to establish universal background checks, secure storage laws, and extreme risk protection orders. State representatives are planning to drop a 13-bill package this week with everything the students are asking for. One student and survivor of the shooting says reliving the emotions from that night is really frustrating.
This shouldn't have been a day at school for me and my classmates.
3 people were killed and 5 others wounded in the incident at MSU. The gunman died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
After a brief pause, shipments of contaminated liquid and soil from the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio have resumed. The contaminated waste will be taken to certified sites in Ohio and Indiana. Texas and Michigan were also expected to get some of that waste, but officials in those states say they were not warned about the shipments. Despite those problems, an EPA spokesperson says the removal of toxic waste will bring relief to the public.
All of this is great news for the people of East Palestine and the surrounding community because it means the cleanup can continue at a rapid pace.
Over the weekend, officials ordered Norfolk Southern to pause shipments for additional oversight measures. The EPA says almost 2 million gallons of liquid waste have been collected from the derailment site. The door-to-door checkup on families affected by the derailment in East Palestine, Ohio is in high gear. On Friday, President Joe Biden ordered federal agencies to go door-to-door and see how residents are doing. The EPA, FEMA, and the CDC say they reached more than 530 households in the first 72 hours. That surpassed their goal of 400 homes. The outreach will continue throughout the week. Here's what's happening right now. The Commerce Department is opening the application process for computer chip manufacturers.
They'll be able to access $39 billion in government support to build new factories and expand production. The effort is made to sharpen the U.S. edge in military technology and manufacturing. All companies seeking the funds will need to show how they plan to develop a local workforce. Well, Fox News and the News Corporation are defending their actions during the 2020 election. Fox News and its parent company, News Corp, countered Dominion Voting Systems' lawsuit alleging on-air assertions by Fox News hosts about election fraud were taken out of context. But Rupert Murdoch, the chairman of the corporation, acknowledged in a deposition that some hosts, quote, endorsed false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. Attorneys for Fox say it should not be held liable for the hosts' claims. According to the filing, Murdoch said that he believed no fraud had occurred in the election. A bill to stiffen penalties for illegal voting has moved one step closer to becoming law in Texas. Under Senate Bill 2, Texas would increase the penalty for illegal voting from a Class A misdemeanor back to a second-degree felony. This was how it was before it was changed 2 years ago. The author of the bill says the legislation would also remove the requirement that a person knows it's a crime for them to vote.
Ignorance of the law is not a defense. Under Senate Bill 2, which is before the committee, if you are a felon and you know that you are a felon, you don't have to also know that it's illegal for felons to vote.
A state Senate committee approved the controversial legislation and sent it to the full Senate for a vote.
Elon Musk is once again the richest man in the world. He's worth $187.1 billion as of the market's closing yesterday. He's a couple of $1 billion ahead of Frenchman Bernard Arnault, the CEO of LMVH. That's the world's largest luxury brand. Musk might be the richest right now, but he also has the distinction of blowing the biggest fortune in history.
That's a live look over COU at 4:50. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. A new study shows that stem cell therapy can reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke in several health failure patients. The procedure involves using a catheter to inject adult stem cells from bone marrow with anti-inflammatory properties into an inflamed heart. One treatment can reduce the long-term risk of heart attack or stroke by 58% for patients with weakened heart muscles. It's being called the largest clinical trial to date involving stem cell therapy for heart failure. Researchers are sounding the alarm on a popular artificial sweetener. A study found erythritol can double the chance of a heart attack or stroke. That is for people in the top quarter of those with the sweetener in their blood. The problem appears to be it causes blood clots, or rather blood to clot, more easily, which can cause a problem when those clots break off and then travel to the heart. SpaceX launched a new generation of Starlink internet satellites into space last night. The Falcon 9 rocket carried 21 of the new satellites into low Earth orbit. The satellites are designed to provide internet for people living in rural and remote areas. Starlink is currently operating in 49 countries.
One bank has agreed to settle a lawsuit related to an alleged Ponzi scheme. Toronto Dominion Bank announced it will pay $1.2 billion to settle an investor's lawsuit. Now, while the bank is saying it's settling the claim, it denies any wrongdoing. Investors say the bank helped disgraced financier Alan Stanford pull off a $7 billion Ponzi scheme, and it uncovered it more than a decade ago. Two other financial institutions, HSBC Holdings and Independent Bank Group, also agreed to pay victims more than $100 million. Actress and producer Courtney Cox received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday. It's the Walk's 2,715th star in the television category. The Friends actress was joined by former co-stars Lisa Kudrow and Jennifer Aniston. Cox's star is located just a few feet from Aniston's. Cox's other notable credits include Scream and Cougar Town.
Another check of your forecast this morning, but I do expect a pretty good cool down coming for us sometime later into next week after this 8-day forecast. Probably by about day 10 from now, we'll get another big cool down heading into next week.
I was going to say
March, March right now,
and hopefully it was spring.
Right, yeah, March right now doesn't look to be the warmest of months. It looks to be kind of a more traditionally cool March, so we'll see how that plays out.
All right, we'll see how that goes. Let's take a live look over downtown Columbia at 4:57. Stick around. KUMU 8 News Today. We'll be right back.